What if I told you that you can fall head over heels in love with yourself? I'm talking that all-consuming, can't get enough, love everything about you type of love. Well, you can. The Self Plus Love Equals Balance podcast is here to show you how. Every week, we'll share tested strategies, personal stories, and invaluable resources to help you take a balanced approach to loving yourself. Here's your host, Carrie, the Balanced Nurse. Let's get to the love.
Hey, welcome back to another episode here with me on Self Plus Love Equals Balance podcast. I'm your host, Carrie, and if you are new to the vibe, welcome. And for all of you who are returning, you know you always have my gratitude. So I'm excited to hear all about your first week of making happiness happen for you. The feedback on part 1 was absolutely amazing. So thank you, and thank you again. And I want to do something a little bit different. I always talk about the feedback, but I actually, if it's okay with you, I wanted to read some of the feedback that I received, really because I feel like this theme is so timely, and I recognize that one of the things that we resonate with as human beings is knowing that we are not alone. So I'm going to read you some of the feedback and of course see what comes up for you or what have you. But I think it makes sense, and I'll do this as long as it's appropriate. I think we have one more part for this particular theme. So anyway, here's one where it says, "Thank you for reminding me to get back to journaling. Gratitude journaling is one of my magical tools." I love that because you know how I went into the disclaimer of talking about how I can dig into gratitude and go on and on. So for you to be able to appreciate that, I appreciate you. All right, another says, "I realize that I've been talking myself into a bad day for a while now, especially with feeling that I'm not a morning person." Exactly. You are whatever kind of person you tell yourself you are. I always, it's a little joke that I say where I'm like, I'm not a morning person, I'm not a night person, I'm just a get it done person, so only attach descriptions and labels to yourself that are serving. We all got to get up and do something, so be that type of person. Okay, and lastly, "You've motivated me to focus on my mornings. I've been considering it, but this was my confirmation. Thank you." Oh, doll, you are so welcome. The mornings or whatever is the start of your day. I don't want to take away those of us that have odd hours or work night shift or whatever. Whatever the start of your day is the most powerful. So make it so. Don't half-ass it. Don't just like, let me see what I can get done, or I'll see, I try. No, be very affirmative on what you're going to do. Be very intentional. So it fills my cup to be able to contribute to filling your cup. Just you being here is you filling your own cup, taking the time out. We're all here for each other. I have settled in and grown comfortable in the understanding that healing through and mastering certain struggles of mine are basically my training ground, to help other people do the same thing. All right, so let's get to the good stuff. Part 2 of making happiness happen for you. Oh, but you know what? Before I get started, if you are really serious about taking action in this area of your life, which many of you who reached out and took the time to give feedback, that alone demonstrates how serious you are, download my free guide that's linked to this episode. It's 5 ways of making happiness happen for you. It gives you 5 practical ways to get out of your head and into a space of making happiness more than just a wish. All right, just remember, with co-creating our lives, taking inspired action is such a key component that I find, in my opinion, is often overlooked. Wishing is fun. Setting intentions is fun, but taking action, that's where the real sauce is, but it's not always fun. So do your part and let the universe do the rest, okay? All right, so jumping right in to what I like to call a gem or another key or step in making happiness happen for you. Are you ready? Okay. To make happiness happen for you, it is important to fail. Did you hear me? We have to learn to fail. We have to learn to change our perception on the concept of failing. Simply put, we need to learn how to fail successfully. All right. And I know that this is against the grain. It's not common. It's not something that people typically like to hear just because of our conditioning when it comes to failure in general. And when I'm referencing failure, I'm not talking about the negative aspects of failure. When I say the negative aspects, I'm not talking about a lack of effort. All right. I'm not talking about being dishonest. I'm not talking about intentionally deviating away from the plan that you set. All right. This kind of failure, it's really important for us to recognize it and address it before it becomes a domino effect in our lives. All right. Because this is actually what contributes to the cycle of chronic unhappiness, right? And that's what we're trying to get away from. We're trying to make the opposite happen. However, we embrace the benefits of failing successfully. We're able to, and I do want to dig into the benefits first just to help, reframe your mind around this concept. So failing successfully, we're able to strengthen our connections by opening our hearts. All right. When we fail successfully, we develop the ability to be vulnerable and honest. You can only be vulnerable and honest from your heart space. Okay. We also develop a healthy balance of responsibility, because we own the process that's gifted to us through failing. Right. Another one of my favorite benefits of failing successfully is you become more flexible. It allows you to bounce back faster and easier each time. When we meet those roadblocks or detours on our journey, which they are inevitable, failing successfully, I call it becoming yoga flexible. For those of you who are into zodiacs, I remember having a conversation with a woman and, she asked me my sign. I said, oh, I'm a Taurus. And she's like, oh, you're stubborn. You're stuck in your ways. And I said, that's what they say. I said, but honestly, I've gone through a lot that's caused me to become very flexible. I said, so I don't know if I could own that. Maybe I outgrew that part of my zodiac. Shows how much I failed, right? So when you fail successfully, you can navigate just about anything because of your flexibility. All right. You don't have to own that saying of that's how I am. You determine how you are. Right. And I don't know. I think, I could say that this would be a benefit too. If you're someone who you're on the fence about reflection, learning to fail successfully will definitely strengthen you in this area. All right. I find that sometimes that alone is the lessening failing. Being forced, in a sense, to take a time out that we wouldn't otherwise. Taking that time out to evaluate what isn't working and what our next move should be without the angst or without being impulsive or blaming or having a lack energy behind it. Just reflect. Right? So these are some of the key benefits, I would say, to really failing successfully. If I had to sum up my failures and what I feel my failures have gifted me in my life, I would say inspiration, most definitely, to not just an inspiration for myself to navigate better, do better, but also being an inspiration to others. As I said, we affect each other, right? So knowing that another person has failed that you know and that you see that they're standing and they're doing things, it is going to inspire you to get through whatever it is that you're navigating, right? Another gift that my failures have gifted me, insight and most definitely growth, right? It's part of what I use to help me navigate heavy experiences, really breathing and asking myself, what is the lesson here? What should I be learning from this? And, in whatever tone it is, sometimes I'm so frustrated and so done, but whatever the tone is, the question rather is always the same. What is the lesson? What should I be learning from this? Why are we talking about failure when we're talking about happiness? What does this have to do with happiness? Everything, because failure to some degree is inevitable in life, right? So it allows you to take responsibility for your life. It gives you your power back. And having your power means that you're in control of your happiness and you want to be happy, don't you? When we think of failure, many of us, we can automatically get into the victim mindset, again, just because of our conditioning. Yet when you equipped yourself with the power of failing successfully, you can maintain your happiness through difficult times in your life. Come on, all of us have a story. All of us have been through some things. You ever look at somebody and you're like, oh my gosh, how are they smiling? How are they still standing? How are they doing that? Well, let's get into the how. What does this look like? How do we do this? How do we fail successfully? First, just kind of expanding on my own practice. When an issue or a failure presents itself, ask yourself what as opposed to who. So for instance, the example I mentioned, when I ask, what is the lesson that I should be learning from whatever the situation is, right? That's safe. That puts you in a space of reflection. That puts you in a space of learning. That puts you in a space of problem solving. Asking what implies a willingness for you to learn. Asking who implies blaming. It's all about blaming, right? Blaming gets us into a victim mode and out of a space of taking responsibility or learning. So again, ask what as opposed to who. Doesn't matter whose fault it is. What should you be learning, right? Okay. Secondly, how? How do we do this? How do we fail successfully? Avoid being general when addressing a failure. Be specific. Dig into the details. What is the specific action or lack of that contributed to this particular failure? I usually uncover this through journaling. It allows for me to really sit with the situation and dissect it. Any overthinking that may be going on is pretty much, it's done at that point because I'm putting it out on paper. It's out of my head on paper. I'm detaching from it so that it's no longer a failure in quotes that I'm navigating as opposed to a problem that I'm solving for you mathematicians out there, right? It's taking a different point of view when you are journaling from a space of what are the details of this right now, okay? The last practice is my favorite and honestly my present day practice that I'm using, I'm going to say at least on a weekly basis, especially because I navigate my life and whatever I'm trying to do through my own themes. Consider what action you would take towards your goal if failure was not an option. Okay? If you could not fail at whatever it is that you're working towards, what would you be doing right now? Honestly, when you wake up to go to work, I refuse to believe that you get up, get dressed, get your day started or whatever, and head to work with the intention to fail. I refuse to believe that. So whether I'm naive or whatever, I'm standing firm in that. I believe you get up, you get dressed, and whether you feel like it or not, you had to work to get the job done, right? Whatever work is for you, you do it, and you do it with intention. You do it saying, you know what, I'm going to succeed today. Let me just get this job done today. I know how it goes, right? However, if you add the thought process of what if I couldn't fail into the mix, I guarantee that you would level up your performance. You would level up your focus. You would level up your ability to take actions in the areas that you would normally be stuck, stagnant, procrastinating, right? I don't know. I know I went kind of overboard with this first action. I guess it speaks to how passionate I am about this particular aspect of making happiness happen for us. And I guess it's because I've failed so much, and I still do fail. And it's become so much easier to navigate because of all that I'm sharing with you. You know, I wanted to make sure that me saying, hey, listen, learning to fail successfully is one of the keys to making happiness happen for you. I wouldn't be able to just leave it there, because I know there's so much deconditioning and reframing that's necessary around this particular theme or concept more so. And so I wanted to make sure I really broke it down for you. Believe it or not, I do have another gem for you. However, it's really more of an expansion than a separate concept in itself, all right? Another way to make happiness happen for you is being open to learning anything. And it sounds easy enough. However, take a few minutes to reflect. When is the last time that you said something along the lines of, and this could be whether it be to yourself or someone else, I can't do that. There's no way I'll be able to do that. That's too hard, or that's impossible, or, right? Sounds like simple enough statements, yet honestly, I believe these statements, especially when used regularly, are so sabotaging, right? Let's look at it, from another point of view. For you mothers, or even think back to the infant version of you. Do you tell your child to stop trying to walk, or were you told to stop trying to walk simply because you kept falling every time you tried? No. Life is no different, right? I love the time that we're in right now from a social media aspect, right? I feel like one of the good things that can come from social media is we're able to see what people from all different walks of life, with all different types of disabilities, struggles, traumas, experiences, whatever, we get to see them learn and do something that at some point of their life they did not know how to do, or better yet, weren't expected to be able to do. You hear me? Is this not amazing? So if you're struggling with your happiness, it could be as simple as shifting the way you look at learning something new. Your happiness, wait for it. Your happiness could be behind that new skill, that new experience, that new person. I don't know. I think I gave you enough to digest this week. It's definitely a great addition to your happiness toolbox as you navigate your week of intentionally making happiness happen for you. However, I cannot let you go without our homework for the week as promised, right? So this week, I'd like you to journal in a notebook or in the note section of your phone or on a whiteboard, whatever, somewhere that it can be safe and you can reflect on it, not on a sticky or anything like that, okay? I'd like you to journal about a significant failure in your life, all right? And here's what I want you to dig into. 1, I want you to write about the failure. Dig into the details of it. What happened? When did it happen? How did it make you feel? Who were the parties involved? And how does it make you feel right now in this moment writing about it? Okay, that's 1. 2, What lesson did you learn from that failure? Be prepared to sit, breathe, and really reflect to figure this out. Because after writing about it, you may be all in your feels, and that's totally fine. Now we reframe that by trying to find the lessons from it. Okay? And 3, what would you do right now, today, in this moment, if failure was not an option for you? I'm talking about action, ladies. All right. And if you feel moved to, I'd love to share your journal reflection on the next episode if you're okay with it. And if so, just let me know in whatever way you communicate that with me, whether it's email or DM, message, whatever. Okay. But listen, until we connect again. Oh, wait a minute. Don't forget to download the free guide. All right. It's in the episode details of whatever platform you're listening on. But until we connect again, ladies, continue to make happiness happen for you while doing your math differently. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Self plus Love equals Balance. Be sure to rate and review us on whatever app you use to listen. It goes a long way in helping others find our community. Until then, remember to do your math a little differently and love yourself.